We have a lot to talk about. In today's video, I'm going to be basically explaining how I messed up my entire psyche after grad, how I literally lost all my confidence and basically had so many breakdowns to the point where I am starting everything over. Just a little sneak peek for what's coming. I'm planning on moving out of LA. I just need to get out of here. So buckle up, babe, because it might be a long-ish video. In college, I was careerly pretty confident. I had direction, I knew what I was gonna do, and if I set my mind to something, I was gonna get that goal. Right from jump, I was the person to have like an internship while in school freshman year, literally during COVID online. I was doing this crazy, free, unpaid internship for this person that was actually kind of like not mentally okay. I guess she got all of her funding from literally her husband to start this like nonprofit news organization / media company, and the entire company structure was literally founded upon unpaid interns that went to USC. I'm not joking, y'all. Like, this is like a thing. I've talked to people since who have left that internship and we're like, girl, what was that? Like, that was actually kind of crazy. Besides the point, I was a go-getter, okay? I saw that opportunity on like our job career website, literally first day at USC when I got my account. I was like, I need a job. So I immediately went on the career website, found that internship, got the internship, and then started branching out from there. After that, I was simultaneously looking for other internships that were actually paid because I wanted my labor to be paid. So when a company called Bubble House reached out to do a collaboration with my webcomic account Thumbpaint at the time, which has since like died and been deactivated, basically, I literally messaged them back being like, hey, like, it's cool that you reach out for me if it's opportunity. However, girl, I'm kind of looking for a job right now. And so if you have any internships at your startup, like, I would love to be part of it. So they literally created a role for me and they gave me this like social media marketing, digital marketing job. It was a lot, actually. I don't know if y'all have ever worked for a startup, but it is a lot of work. Like, I was pretty much on call like 24/7. The company was based out of New York and I was living in LA. Still I am living in LA, trying to change that. I would literally get messenger calls because we talked on Messenger at 11 p.m., which meant it was literally 2 a.m. for their time, but they were grinding literally all day, every day. I would respond, change a social media post, or contact someone else who we were outsourcing for animations or graphics, making the graphics myself. Like, I was very hands-on for this internship. Not to literally pat myself on the back for that one, but I genuinely was the reason why they got half their app downloads. I literally converted 30,000 app downloads for them, which is actually kind of insane looking back at it. So again, I'm trying to set the picture that I was this like go-getter person. Now I'm entering sophomore summer. Okay, so those are my two internships for sophomore and freshman year. I was like, I need to get a bigger internship with a bigger name because I'm going into my junior year, like my big junior year. I'm gonna be upperclassman. I need to have a good upperclassman internship. Mind you, other people were telling me to chill out and to just get an internship like your junior year, like it doesn't matter, like you'll be fine. And I was like, absolutely not, like I need to do something. I was literally maintaining my social media account at this time while being in school, trying to simultaneously build a fine art portfolio to do a double major, got the double major, and applying for internships. And the one I chose was this Academy Gold Rising program where basically I would be interning at a museum, but they were part of a larger network where you would be gold rising people and have all this kind of expanded connections to people in the corporate world for marketing and entertainment. That was the intersection I wanted to go in. I was very headstrong about it. I was like, I need to be in the entertainment industry. I'm a creative person. Did not know I wanted to do fine art yet, but with my communications degree, I was like, I can do something with this. So this internship is actually only supposed to be for rising seniors, and I was a rising junior. But on my transcript, I had this thing where because I had took AP classes in high school and the units carried over, my actual academic standing on paper was that I was a rising senior, even though my trajectory wasn't that. Anyways, I was a year behind everyone else. The people hiring me, shout out Stefan, I love Stefan down, literally advocated for me to still be part of the program and to be the intern because I was the first intern at that company or at that role. So I ended up getting it, worked my ass off that summer. Actually, not really. It was pretty easy work compared to the startup. Girl. And so with that internship, I was like, damn, like I'm set. Like, this is a big name. This is a big title. I'm immediately connected with all these different people. But again, I had this like internal vigor and like drive to just go for the corporate world, like very straightforward, like cutthroat about it. Like, I'm gonna do this. And then art kind of changed my entire life. There was this thing inside me that was like a tiny little candle flickering in the wind, per se. And it started growing as I started nurturing that when I was taking art classes, and I realized that, damn, like I really want to do this, or see if I can do this outside of my 9 to 5, hopefully after grad. My junior year fall, I was applying to 100 different internships. I'm not even joking you, I was applying to 100 of them. And by December of that year, I had 0 internships lined up. I got a couple interviews, bombed them. The interview was so bad, okay? Like I flopped. It was a flop and a chop. Randomly got nominated for this art residency at Yale, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like maybe I'm supposed to do this. I was expecting to get in because, girl, the application process was so intense for no reason. I'm not even gonna explain it. Anyways, I was going into my junior spring and I wasn't sure if I was gonna get this art residency thing. And I happened to get a call back for this like internship matching program where a bunch of finalists for this random program would get paired with an internship for the summer in the entertainment industry. So it was exactly what I wanted. Exactly to a T. Simultaneously, I also had maybe another internship lined up for a museum in LA, but everything was happening at the same time. I had my hand in so many different pockets, all this kind of motivation and drive, doing art and whatever. Oh my God, at this point I need to speed up because I'm just like recounting my college years and that's not helpful. It's actually kind of pathetic. Whatever, I ended up getting the residency and saying no to the other internship opportunities. I basically pissed off the internship matching people so bad, so bad. Oh my God, I can never see their faces again. Oh, it was bad, babe. It was bad. Because I was like, oh, I'm gonna go. And then I just left. Yikes. Not okay. Not okay in the corporate world. Or any world, actually, for that matter. Then I do the residency, blah, 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 whatever. Simultaneously, like making videos and stuff, making pretty good money with it. And so I said upon graduating, like, oh, I'm gonna give myself a year to just do me and grind, okay? I'm gonna finally bet on myself because this whole entire college experience, I had been relying on other people to give me the go-ahead, right? I'm applying to these internships. Someone has to review my application and say yes. I'm applying for these art opportunities. Same thing. Someone has to say yes. There are a bunch of gatekeepers. But on the side with just social media and YouTube stuff, I was kind of carving my own path in a sense where I didn't have to wait for these gatekeepers to tell me that I was good enough. I could just do it. And so after grad, I was like, okay, perfect. I'm not gonna do corporate, even though my parents would have been much happier if I did. And I'm just gonna bet on myself. Betting on myself. That was my philosophy and the way in which I thought I was looking at life after grad because I was not gonna get a corporate job. However, little did I realize that even though I wasn't in corporate, my goals of trying to make it, quote unquote, in the gallery scene for LA was very similar to the point where it probably would have been much easier to get a corporate job, like a lot more easier, okay? Like I've said so many of these stories already on this channel, but I'm just gonna lay them out in succession so that you kind of understand how my confidence slowly starts to wane. I get mixed up with a bunch of different art people and it's been really fun hanging out with them, and one person eventually who I really respect was like, oh, we should do a solo show together. I just need 6 6-foot paintings. And I was like, okay, work. I can do this. I can work with it. Literally halfway through, drop, babes. Dropped. Now, there was a reason for why I was dropped, I guess. It was that I was posting the finished paintings online. However, there's a very gray area because they never in text told me that this was an exclusive thing, and they never said that the paintings that I did finish for them were approved to be in the show. It was just like, oh, this is cool. So I was just posting it because I thought that was chill. But I guess it wasn't because dropped. And of course that does something for your confidence because also the entire time I was making these paintings, I was sending this person photos of the progress every step of the way. I wasn't sure if that was like conventional, so that's what I was doing. Apparently looking back, that's not what you're supposed to do really. Oftentimes the gallerist will just look at the work and say, oh yeah, your paintings are really great, just make 6 of them and we're good. But for this person, I was constantly, I think on my part, this was like a failure, asking for that feedback. And so when you ask for feedback, it opens the door for people to actually insert their own opinions instead of taking you as you are, because suddenly a light bulb goes off that, oh, this person is malleable and they're willing to change and they're showing me they're willing to change openly, so let me change them. That was kind of the expectation that I set for myself. That was the precedent I set for myself. Going forward, I will never be the one to set that precedent. If someone in the future says, hey, can I look at what you're doing in progress? Like, I'd love to just see an update. I would totally be accommodating, but never again will I just like shortchange myself up front and give someone that access to provide me that feedback. Does that make sense? And of course, during that time, fresh after grad, I was like, oh, I should bet on myself. So I invested so much of my time, energy, and money into finding a studio outside of my bedroom because it would not have worked for me making these large-scale paintings with oil in my bedroom because the fumes would have just like absolutely destroyed me. So in the process of looking for the outside studio, I consulted a little friend of mine, super fun, trusted. We know the spiel. I was subletting under the table and I had no idea about it because this person didn't tell me. I'm not saying it's their fault. It should have been my fault because I should have assumed that in LA, everything like that conversation was going would be under the table. However, I was just naive and didn't know that. So, of course, when I got in the studio, I was like buddy-buddy with everyone. I was like, hey, what's up? And they're like, babes, like, get the fuck out of here, basically. You can't be here. You did not do this the right way. And if anything happens, then we're liable. And that's not fair, so you need to sort it out with the manager. So I spoke with the manager, okay? Girlie was chill, okay? He was like, you can stay for a couple months, whatever, but just like, be careful, da-da-da-da-da. So the whole time I'm there, I was walking on eggshells, further walking on eggshells because, again, the paintings I was making in that studio were for this project that then got dropped. So I didn't know what to do. And simultaneously, while this was happening, in general, like small things, it was just a lot of just disrespect. And I didn't even read it as disrespect at the time because I just assumed that's how like the art world works. I was like, oh, this is just how the people are. Some examples, I was talking to a couple different gallery, alternative space people, and they really loved my personality, but could only see that and couldn't see the actual work. And so in that case, the social media presence that I have where they first found me overtook how they saw my paintings or saw my performances. There'd be tiny comments here and there, like an introduction, where they would first introduce me as like a YouTuber or like a content creator versus an artist. And I thought that's okay. But then eventually there was this one time where, and I still love all the people involved, but there's one time when I've been talking to this high art person for 2 years. So while in school, we were still talking, and they're really supportive, very supportive of my work. But then one day, they're like, oh my God, like, I have a great opportunity for you. And I was like, girl, this is my chance, this is my opportunity. I was expecting like, oh, maybe we can do a studio visit to see if you could be part of a show, or see if you could be part of this thing or this thing. I was like, okay, amazing, like, what is it? I'm so curious. They're like, you have a great personality. I would love if you would pour wine at my next event. Right. And first of all, there's absolutely nothing with pouring wine at an event. Nothing wrong with that. And I even told the person, I was like, oh, I'm down. Like, let me just like practice at home. Let me pop a bottle of wine with my friends. Like, I got you. And again, like setting the precedent that I'm okay with all of this, that I'm not just okay with this, that I'm welcoming and open to receiving these kinds of like opportunities more than I am with an art opportunity. Because again, like with this confidence issue, I wasn't advocating for myself in these art spaces adequately, where I would be like, oh, like I do make work sometimes, sure. Like I was very shy about showing my paintings to people. Ironic, because I literally post everything online, but these people don't know that. So I was be very timid and shy when showing my work, because in social situations like that, I'm very, very cognizant of like power dynamics. And so I just didn't feel comfortable being so upfront and like presenting maybe arrogant, or how I would perceive as arrogant. Of course, when 2 + 2 is 4, people see that you're shy when talking about your work, but super ecstatic and energized about pouring wine at an event. Of course, they're gonna think of you in this sector rather than this sector, because I didn't, again, set that precedent. And I realize now, when that happens, first impressions are huge. Because imagine this, okay, someone's in the center, they're neutral, looking at you first. They see how you interact and how you talk about your own work versus the other things you're excited for, and immediately, if I say I'm super excited to pour wine, their thoughts and process of me go that direction, right? Any opportunities related to that they'll think of me for. Dragging them over to the other side is adding distance. Whereas if they were in the center and you pull them right, it's chill. Making them realize that I want them actually on this side is going to be much more of a tug of war, and it's something I haven't actually successfully done yet, I don't think, because again, people's first impression was that. So that's just another example of like another thing that kind of knocked my confidence a bit. And so finally, right, I'm still telling myself, okay, you gave yourself a year after graduation to do what you needed to do, and you're betting on yourself. Keep going. You're betting on yourself. This illusion that I was giving myself agency when I was actually doing the exact opposite. At least in the corporate world, I had the attitude of I'm gonna go after this job and I don't care what it's gonna take, I'm gonna do it. And I will only take yeses as an answer. If I get a no, that's not the right person, let me go in the other direction. If I get a no from literally the 90 internships I applied to in the fall that one year, I would keep applying until I got that yes. I did not have the same attitude at all in the art world, because it's not like I'm submitting an application to every single person I run into. It's like a conversation, it's a handshake, it's an introduction, which I love. And socially, like I made so many great friends because of it. So many great friends. The person who had the studio before me, she was so fun, so fresh, and so kind, and one of the great people I've met in the art world. Because I met so many amazing people. David, Clarice, Thomas, Gabby, Jordan, Annie, Emma. Like I could list out all the names that literally got me to where I am and like helped build me back up after all these things happened. But again, this illusion that I had agency in this new state after graduation is just completely false. I did not give myself agency. Okay, I stripped everything I had away from myself. I was just making paintings for this person, giving them say in my own work. It's one thing to let people have a say in which spaces you're allowed to enter physically, but my work has always been me. And that's literally the whole reason why I do art, right? It's this other space, this alternative space where I'm allowed to just play, have fun, and be myself. And somehow I allowed people to taint that. And that's nothing on them, because I was asking for that feedback and I was allowing them in. That has everything to do with myself. I treated myself like shit. And because my self-esteem was bad, I let it keep happening. Okay, this is not a one-time incident. This is just like a many-time incident where someone's opinions will affect what I do in the studio tenfold. Because when someone's opinions affects what I do in the studio directly. Because all I want to do is just get better at art. If I set that as an expectation rather than just part of the natural progression of making work, like, let me reel it back really quick. If I got as much feedback as I can on my work, I would get better, because I'm asking for feedback from people who have been in the art world and people who I respect in the art world. So naturally I thought, if they give me advice on my work, I should just take it, because I want to be like them. I want to be in their position. And overall, I actually do think it helped my work a ton. Each time someone says something now, I like have a pinch in like my heart where I'm like, I have to do that. Whereas before I received critique, it was a lot more healthy. I would take what I wanted, I would listen to people's feedback and implement the changes that I wanted, instead of letting them tell me what to change. It was almost like I had this, I'm not sure if you could call it like a fetish for information, or overestimated the power of information, but I thought that if I knew more people, if I was looking at more painting, if I was looking at more artists, studying other people's work, studying their thoughts on my work, that I would become the artist I thought I was supposed to be. And I got very obsessive over it. Like, I don't think people understand, like, when I go into a cafe, I am obsessing over things. I literally made this web of just artists in the art world who I thought worked well with one another, who I thought were in the same canon, tradition, themes, whatever. And I made, actually, I'm not even going to show these because it's actually very embarrassing. I made separate lists based off of this list on further categories, breaking down these connections. And it's not as obsessive as you may think from just looking at this list. Like, I haven't memorized these people's names. I just know their work and their images in my head and can place them around. I didn't get to that point, so don't clock me too hard. I thought for some reason this would help. It didn't, surprise, surprise, because when my whole work is about identity and exploring self, why am I trying to investigate other people and bring that into the work as much as I did? I do think there's a lot of help in looking for references, looking for inspiration, seeing which conversations you want to enter, but that can't be the only source of inspiration or direction that you have. And for me, that was it. I literally lost it, y'all. When I say not sleeping well, like thinking about this constantly, saying pretty awful things about myself internally, it's just not a vibe. It's not a vibe, babe. Because simultaneously, right, when all this art stuff is happening, I'm also becoming very morally conflicted on just everything I do. I've assigned a moral judgment and value onto every single action I partake in because of how much I've tried to educate myself, again, information, on just political ideology and everything that's happening in the world right now. I think actually, if one thing was sane about this entire journey from the past year, what was sane was me looking at the world around me and thinking, oh, shit's crazy, shit's falling apart. That's probably the most sane thought I've had. I'm looking at the election, I'm looking at these several ongoing genocides, I'm looking at how my actions help these people, whether it's like buying something at a corporate place where they're funding this genocide, or like buying new clothes, or not protesting as much as I should. I started literally taking apart everything I did and just saying like, oh, you're a bad person, you're a bad person, you're a bad person. Because also, I'm talking to friends that are like doing the most, y'all. Like, these are people I met at the encampments at college my senior year, because a lot of campus encampments were going up, and the people I met through there, I've stayed in touch with, and they're all doing so much more politically and activism-wise than myself. And so I felt like in the studio, if I'm just making a silly little painting that is like actually stupid and not helping anyone, if I'm making a video, not helping anyone, so crazy. Would not recommend. What I think a lot of people understood is that we live in a lot of contradiction, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? Like, everything we do in this point is in contradiction because we're living in a capitalist society. We are subsumed by it. It's everywhere. So to try to escape or push against it, you're gonna have places and moments where you are buying something. Duh, you need to live, like, you need to survive. Because I was moralizing every decision, when I did choose a time to make a painting or to make art, I was putting even more pressure on myself, because I was like, if I'm taking time away from where I could be helping other people, then babes, this has to be fucking good. This has to be good, because if not, then all of it's a waste of time. So I was like, oh, all this is stupid. All this is literally stupid, nothing matters. The very like nihilistic point where I'm just looking around and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Which again, I think self-critique is very, very healthy and actually necessary in order for us to like move towards change. I was just not doing it in a productive way. And ironically, when I was feeling guilty or shameful about what I was doing, it inherently was tying everything to myself, when that's the exact opposite of what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do is to focus on other people and how to uplift them. And so any guilt or shame that I was experiencing was, I want to say narcissistic, but it just wasn't doing the right thing. Because in the end of the day, that's not productive either. Like, focusing on that guilt and shame solely and getting caught up in that is not productive for anyone. Oh my god, can I compare to something? I wouldn't say it's as crazy as this. Let's say you hurt someone's feelings and that person is telling you like, oh my god, it's okay, it wasn't that bad, you didn't mean it. And then you start crying because you're like, no, I made you feel so bad. Like, I made you feel so bad. And if you're the person whose feelings were hurt initially, you're like, girl, like, chill out. It's not that deep. And also now that you're crying, it's like about you, and it's not about you, this was about me. And all of a sudden I have to comfort you. Like, you know what I mean? It just makes no sense. Fast forward to about like literally 24 hours ago. I was like, what do I do? I gave myself so many different opportunities to stay. I was like, if I get this residency, if I get this grant, I'll stay in LA. I will. It'll be my sign to stay, but if not, I'll leave. Because at that point I was like, LA already wasn't serving me that much. So if these things will happen, then I know it's my sign to go. That being said, I'm very much the person, I think, as we established, I hope I'm not sounding so crazy in this video. As we established, I'm very headstrong, and so I didn't also want me leaving LA to be an active submission, to be like, oh no, poor me, like, it didn't pan out my way, like, a couple months after graduation, I'm gonna go. I was so scared that that would be me, and so in that respect, I was like, I can't leave. I need to just keep pushing. So I was telling my parents and my friends all this, and they're like, dude, like, you aren't giving up if you leave LA. You have been wanting to go to New York for so long. When I was literally in middle school, I had a best friend, and we literally wrote in each other's notebooks, like, one day we are gonna live in New York together, and that's a promise. New York has always been brewing in the back of my mind. Of course, like, art epicenter, everyone wants to be Carrie Bradshaw, just have that New York fantasy when you're young. And that was me in middle school. I was literally like, I need to go to New York. But then somehow I just got wrapped up in LA and forgot about it. That best friend actually did end up going to New York, and she literally lives there now. I visited her there like last summer, I guess. And we always joke about that promise back in the day because our moms talk about it all the time. When I was telling my parents like, oh, I feel like I'm running away from LA and just all the bad things and I don't want to be that person, they're like, no, you had boundaries for yourself. You yourself broke those boundaries and you're not running away, you're running towards something you always wanted to do but just forgot about. And that like actually kind of killed me, because I don't know if y'all have if you've ever read like an old notebook that you've had where you're a kid and you're just writing all your dreams down in a journal, where the world is your oyster and you think anything's possible, that you kind of get like choked up, like what happened to that innocence, that passion, and then you realize looking at yourself that it's gone, that somehow along the way you forgot about those dreams and you've been kind of wading in this muddied water of reality, being like, it is what it is. When sometimes, yes, there are so many different factors that prevent someone from chasing those opportunities. But for my scenario right now, it's like I could go to New York and just try it, but I am not. And why am I not? Babes, it's always been there. It has always been there. Literally, the straw that broke the camel's back was my friend Hera today. We were talking and chatting it up. She just kept saying, like, if you want it, you would do it, because you can do it. Like, you just need to do it. Like, why are you're so unhappy in LA, so unhappy. Everyone can see it. Like, you killing yourself over like the smallest things. You need to change. Like, just go to New York. Like, you've been talking about this for so long. It's getting annoying actually that you keep asking for a solution and the solution is right there in front of your face, but you're not getting there. And that's what literally got me through this mental barrier, this mental block of like, oh, well, I can't. Oh, well, I can't. There will always be excuses, I realize, that will give myself to stop me from actually moving forward. So I finally said, fuck it, like I'm gonna do whatever projects I had lined up in LA that are keeping me in LA, I will get them done. It will happen, but just not the way I expected, because babe, I need to get my ass to New York. So that brings me to now, when I've had this opportunity to self-reflect. I finally felt like a breath of fresh air, like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder and my chest. My chesticles. Even just thinking about the possibility of change literally lifted my spirit up a bit. And that just tells me that I'm on the right direction and that I'm chasing something that's worthwhile. I can't describe it, but I immediately got this like energy to just look up apartments, see how I could sublet. And then I randomly posted on my close friends that like I need someone to sublet my apartment. And then somehow literally one of my great friends at USC was like, damn, I was literally just searching for apartments. So everything seems kind of kismic. It's lining up, it's serendipitous, and now I'm just exploring for housing places in New York. So we'll see what happens. I would just move there from January to May, like a typical like spring semester, see if I really love the city, bounce back to LA for June and July when my apartment lease is still running, move out, and then if I like New York, I'll just move there. Now, some of y'all know that I've been also applying to grad school. Me being so lost in my life, I thought, oh, a great thing for me to do right now is to yet again get confronted by a big gate and ask for someone to let me through. And then when I'm inside of that gate, to have even more people to tell me and give me their thoughts on my practice. When right now, I am actually so lost internally, have very little direction, to the point where anything that those people would tell me right now, I know would like either break me or change my art practice in a way that may or may not be related to what I truly want. And I wouldn't even know what I want because I would be getting too much feedback at the same time. My friend Hera was describing this to me. She's like, grad school is like a coupon. It's a gift, basically, and you can choose when to use it in your life. Some people choose to do it right after graduation because they want to cash that in right away, but there is a benefit in waiting to cash it in, and it's like a second life. And I said this before on this channel actually, that it was like a second life, that you only get one. It's literally like a terminal degree, quote unquote, so there's nothing after. You can't get like a PhD in art necessarily in the States. It's very rare. It's usually for people who go from undergrad to the PhD program, not undergrad, master's, PhD. I realized that, babe, you're so right. I always wanted to be the person that was like Sasha Gordon, like a prodigy that just explodes in the art world and gets the recognitions that I always imagined and dreamed of as a kid. I think that's everyone's dream, right? To just feel seen. So I thought that if I do my MFA as early as possible at the best grad school possible, then I would get that. But I realized, like, first of all, Sasha Gordon does not have a fucking MFA. Literally went out of undergrad and just shot up in the art world that way. And if she did want an MFA, well, first of all, like, wouldn't need it, basically. But second of all, it would be a later time in her life. If I cash in that check now, it's like, oh, you may actually flop right after grad school and you'll have no net below you. At least now after graduation, you gave yourself a couple years to just make the art you want, know what you want to do. And if you do want to jump back into an institution, you can. But if not, it's chill, you'll find your vibe. But at least you have that net there. If I do it now, babe, the net is gone. And I know I'd be cashing that coupon too early. Because, babe, I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't even know who I am. Also, side note, but like with the Trump presidency, a lot of institutions are destabilizing before our very eyes. Even with this Biden administration, with so much congressional interference happening within college institutions, we've seen the policing of people's own students to protect the very fabric of the institutions themselves. And even from a social standpoint, from a critical eye, it doesn't make sense to join an institution right now. The school I was applying to, the only one I was going to do, was UCLA. And that's a public institution. No idea how Trump would destabilize that. All these different signs I had been completely ignoring until literally now I can see them so clear. I was like, girl, literally the world is telling you, get the fuck out of LA and out of your head and just try to have fun and do something good for yourself and be with the community that you had in LA that since moved to New York, aka my friends Servani, Angelo, and Saint, and so many others who are doing political activism and real groundwork in New York, but are also having fun together and having that community, the thing that you don't necessarily have in LA, or maybe do have, but it's just harder to cultivate because this place has gotten you so in your head about everything, and the actual environment is what's stopping you from changing mentally and internally. Nothing to do with those actual people themselves. And so in that case, I'm like, I need to go to New York. It's not even a question at this point. It just literally has to happen. I'm willing to give up my painting studio. I'm willing to literally, it would save me money actually. I realized that there's so many other things I can do, like start an alternative podcasting channel that I've been wanting to start for so long. Growing Art Talk Collective that I literally abandoned because of this art career, even though that would have been such an amazing platform if I had stuck with it. Just so many different projects I put in the back burner for what? Where do I go from here, y'all? Where do I go? I have no idea. New York, actually. That's the answer. Side note, I can't deal with the cold that well. Babes, it's literally 60 degrees in LA right now, and I'm wearing like a thermal thing. Girl, I'm gonna need like 3 of these in New York. Anyways, I'm very, very excited for the future. Hopefully, I get to take y'all with me, and y'all are still here. I know I haven't posted in like a month, but I've just literally been going through so many different breakdowns where you could probably just tell by like the neuroticism in my voice, and I'm very excited to take y'all along with me on the journey of just moving in the right direction. Thank God. Definitely needed this. I don't know. I think that's the end of the video, honestly. I will document the process of me still in LA, moving out. Maybe I'll make some more work. I have one last painting that I want to finish before I move out of here, but we'll see where it goes. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you like the video, like the video. If you have a comment, critique, or try to share, comment down below. And if you like me, my art, want to follow my journey as an artist in LA, you can subscribe. Soon to be New York, actually. And I think that's the end of the video, y'all. That's the end of the video.